As former spouses and 90-Day Fiancé stars, Micheal Elisini and Angela Deem squared face in a court case that had been months in the making. The tension in the room was evident. Reports state that Micheal emerged from the highly anticipated showdown with a resounding victory, leaving Angela clearly demoralized. After the judge decided in Micheal's favor, he and his legal team were seen rejoicing, while Angela was left with nothing to do but watch as her chances of winning were crushed. As she had frequently attempted to do during their marriage, Angela saw this as more than just a simple court matter. It was her opportunity to subject Micheal to pain and humiliation in front of the legal system. From the beginning, it was evident that Angela's goal was to demolish Micheal in any manner possible. It appeared that things had finally turned around for her after she had filed several claims against him in the hopes of winning each one. To Angela's dismay, the judge, who was aware of her unpredictable behavior, gave Micheal the victory instead of putting up with any more of her pranks. Angela had always demanded control in their turbulent relationship, whether it was about their money, their correspondence, or even Michael's ability to interact with friends and relatives. Within their marriage, Angela had always had the upper hand. Micheal found it difficult to advocate for himself because of her boisterous and confrontational demeanor. Over the years, Angela's behavior had become more extreme, and it appeared that the more power she exercised, the more she desired, even if he had stayed calm and patient with her. Upon the eventual dissolution of their marriage, Angela perceived the legal system as her new front. She was adamant about pursuing her battle with Micheal, utilizing the judicial system as her tool this time. Angela's goal was to reclaim the authority she believed she had lost, not just money or victory. As she had done numerous times during their marriage, Angela found the ideal setting in the courtroom to try to degrade Micheal and portray him as the bad guy. However, Angela was out of control in this arena, and the judge was not fooled by her typical strategies. Enthusiastic to prove her case, Angela walked inside the courtroom. She felt that her acts were justified and that the judge would support her because of the story she had developed over the years. In her relationship with Micheal, Angela had always presented herself as the victim, and she intended to take advantage of this impression. But Angela had misjudged the judge severely after considering the facts, and knowing Angela's history, the judge was unwilling to entertain her attempts to place the blame elsewhere or control the outcome. The 90-Day Fiancé audience had seen years of Angela's tantrums and manipulations, but in the trial, the evidence and facts were given more weight than showmanship. In this environment, Angela's typical techniques of yelling loudly and attempting to steer the conversation were useless. Her attempts to denigrate Micheal were detected by the court, who declined to allow her to control the proceedings. As the case developed, it was evident that Micheal was in the stronger position. He had suffered financial and psychological losses as a result of Angela's abusive behavior, and his legal team had prepared a compelling defense. In the meantime, Angela's claims lacked the substance necessary to persuade the court to rule in her favor and were, at most, weak. She tried to portray Micheal as the issue, but it was obvious the court wasn't buying it. When Angela saw that the power dynamics in the courtroom were not what she had anticipated, her fury increased. The tension in the room peaked when the judge finally announced the verdict. Angela had hoped for a resounding win, a decision that would cause Micheal pain and humiliation. But Angela was left feeling devastated when the judge decided in Michael's favor. The court had acknowledged the reality Angela's actions during the litigation and in her marriage were poisonous and unwarranted. It was evident that she had lost control of the situation. Micheal, who had maintained his composure the entire time, exhaled a breath of relief. His years of putting up with Angela's domineering actions had finally ended, both in their marriage and in the courts. After the courts ruled in Michael's favor, he had achieved a major win that solidified his choice to leave Angela's control. Michael's attorney gave him a congrats as the decision was announced, demonstrating their well-deserved achievement. They had put up a lot of effort to make a strong case, and it had paid off. For Micheal, this was a personal victory as much as a legal one. After years of abuse at the hands of Angela, he had finally broken free from her hold on him and had the full support of the legal system. Conversely, Angela was disheartened. Her endeavors to reclaim control over Micheal had utterly failed. The judge's decision served as a sharp reminder that her deceptive strategies had ultimately failed and could only go her so far. While Micheal and his attorney rejoiced over their win, it was up to Angela to come to terms with her defeat. When she heard the decision, Angela's first thought was, "How could this have happened in my mind?" All along, she had been in the right. Though she had anticipated that the court would side with her and consider Micheal to be the one who had harmed her, she had been revealed as the aggressor, the one who had gone well past what anyone ought to put up with. Her public image, which had always benefited from controversy and drama, was suddenly turning against her. In court, Angela's reputation as a violent and alt figure proved to be her downfall. Her attempts to manipulate the issue were exposed by the judge, who concluded that her inability to accept accountability for her conduct had left her without a viable defense. Ultimately, Angela's actions as she exited the courtroom had proved her undoing. Angela was clearly upset since she was now the one bearing the consequences of her actions, whereas before she had been so certain in her abilities to prevail and make Micheal pay for abandoning her. For an arrogant person like Angela, the setback was more than just a court case, it was a psychological blow that left her feeling helpless and ashamed. There was no grandstanding, no putting salt in the wound, just a quiet celebration between Micheal and his lawyer outside the courthouse. Micheal won in a modest and composed manner. In his relationship with Angela, he had always been the cool, patient one, and his actions now demonstrated that same quiet strength. Regaining his life and his dignity was more important to Micheal than simply beating Angela in court. With this judicial win, Michael's story took a turn for the better. For years, he had put up with Angela's financial and mental abuse without raising any concerns. Though he had stayed in the marriage far longer than most would have, thinking that things would improve, Micheal had left the marriage with grace, unwilling to go down to Angela's level when he finally worked up the guts to do so. He was now vindicated, the courts having ruled in his favor. Michael's attorney, who played a crucial role in achieving victory, commended him for his tenacity and will. Together, they had confronted a strong foe in Angela, but they had triumphed because of their meticulous preparation, convincing proof, and unflinching patience. Micheal grinned at his attorney, clearly relieved that his ex-partner would no longer be a burden on him going ahead. The court defeat marked a turning point in Angela's life because it meant she could no longer control Micheal as she had before or utilize the judicial system as a means of escalating their dispute. Angela was forced to face the repercussions of her actions after the court made it apparent that her behavior would no longer be accepted. Because she had always lived on control, Angela's court defeat dealt a wound to her ego that would take time to heal. It was a devastating reality for her to lose to Micheal in such a public and decisive manner after spending years claiming control over her relationships. She had gone into the courtroom with the intention of winning both legally and emotionally, to show Micheal and herself that she was still in control of him. However, that delusion had been dashed, and as Angela took in the court's decision, she was forced to face a harsh reality. Her actions had finally come up with her. She was no longer able to use her fiery temper or her celebrity from reality TV as an explanation. She was just another person who had overstepped the mark, and the court saw no need to hide the consequences. Although Angela's future was uncertain, she could not deny that her days of dominating Micheal were finished. I appreciate you seeing.